Hey Flower Tribe, it's Kelly Lehman, and I wanted to give you more sunflower planting tips today. If we haven't met yet, it's nice to meet you. My name is Kelly Lehman. I'm the owner of Cranberry Fields Flower Farm here in Cranberry, New Jersey, and I love giving you guys fun, free flower tips. So please feel free to subscribe to this YouTube channel and hit the bell notification so you know whenever I post another fun, free flower tip video. If you hear some snoring in the background, that's because of Lucy back there, who is, of course, right next to all the audio. Aww. So I wanted to tell you some of the blunders that I've made in the past when I tried planting my sunflower seeds indoor. So one of the number one things that I can tell you is that I didn't give them enough sunlight. So sunflowers love sunlight. So if you plant them and you keep them in a window that's not facing south, or it's only getting like 2 or 3 hours of sunlight a day, they're not going to grow. So a really good rule of thumb is that once you plant them, make sure that you put them in like a south-facing window. And if you don't have a south-facing window, if you can just bring them outside for some direct sunlight, at least like 6 to 8 hours each day, that's going to help them. And then you can bring them inside and, pop them wherever you want them. This is a super sunny window where I have my sunflowers sitting in, and they're doing great. It's also really important that when you're doing the planting process, that when you, if you're planting them indoors, that you use either like a potting soil or a seed starter mix, because a lot of times people will use soil from their own gardens to start those seeds off with, and sometimes it's just a little more difficult. It can be done. I mean, clearly, like seeds do that outside all the time, but it's just going to give you faster results if you can use that seed starter mix, if possible, or if you can mix like your garden soil with some of that seed starter mix. So try that out. If you can't get a hold of seed starter mix, it's not a big deal. Then by all means, go ahead with the garden soil, but this is just like a little extra power tip there. So the other thing you're going to make sure is that you water your seeds in. I wanted to show you something that happened to some of my seeds that I did. I watered them in. They germinated, they started to grow, just like this batch in here, and then I forgot to keep up with the watering. And if you don't keep up with the watering and that soil drops out, this is what might happen to your sunflower seedlings. I'll show you. So they get super unhappy, super fast. This soil is really dry right now. So make sure that you always, when you touch the soil by your sunflower seedlings, that it's always moist. You also want to make sure that you don't drown your sunflower seeds. Sometimes people will put their sunflower seeds in pots and they won't have any drainage holes on the bottom. And that means that when you water them, there's no place for that excess water to escape. So you want to make sure that you always have some drainage holes on the bottom of whatever container you put them in, so that your sunflowers do not have soggy feet. That extra water can come out onto either like a cookie tray or whatever kind of bin you have underneath it to capture that moisture, and this way your sunflowers will stay nice and moist, but they're not soggy. And I have to say, for the most part, a lot of plants, most plants don't like to have soggy feet, and a lot of people have asked me, why aren't there hydrangeas blooming? And sometimes they're overwatering them. So you could take a look at one of those videos I have on how to keep your hydrangeas blooming and some of the other things that will help you discover why they're not blooming. You can check that out in that video I have above there. And another thing that I wanted to tell you about is that sunflowers have super, super long tap roots. So you want to make sure that you either have some sort of like a support system for them if they start to flop over. So right now this sunflower is looking pretty good. I mean, it's really tall, it doesn't need a support system, and when I grow them in my garden, I don't use any kind of support systems. But sometimes when I grow them inside, because of those long roots, sometimes they start to get a little bit floppy, a little bit droopy. They're also, a lot of times, trying to find that sunlight. So a lot of times, these plants are going to kind of like bend towards the sunshine. That's just their nature. So what you might want to do is you can stake it with a little bit of a bamboo pole or a stick or a chopstick or something. We put a little bit of like Velcro around it, or you can use some planter's tape, make sure it's done loosely. And then what I'll also do is I'll kind of rotate my plants towards the sunlight. So it's not always in that same direction every day trying to reach it, which is kind of like what happened to this plant here. It was trying to get at that sunlight. So what I should have done, I should have kind of like just rotated it around so that like every second or third day, it would be more upright. Somehow this sunflower figured out how to do it all on its own. Now, a lot of times people will want to try speeding up the process of growing their sunflowers, and they'll soak their seeds ahead of time, which is a fine idea. It's a great idea. You can actually put them in a little bit of water. Some people prefer warm water. I don't think it really makes a difference. They'll soak those seeds. between, some people like to do it for like 10 hours. Some people will leave them in the water overnight. And then basically that just helps that small plant to kind of, get through that tough shell a little more easily. And so you can do that, but sometimes people wind up soaking them and they leave them in water for like 2 or 3 or 4 days, and then that, that little seed inside starts to rot out. And I'll show you what that looks like because, of course, I've done it, every blunder known to man. And you can tell that root got totally waterlogged, and I basically drowned it by accident. So if you do use that soaking method, make sure that you only do it for like maybe 10, maybe, I don't know, some people say just do it for 10 hours. I've done it overnight and it was fine, but I wouldn't do it for any longer than a full day. So once they're done soaking, then they put them in that, potting mixture, and that's how they'll actually, grow them. So guys, I made you a video showing you how to actually plant these in a pot, and I'll give you like the quick steps in case you missed it, but I'll also link that video above showing you how to plant sunflower seeds in your own home. You basically just take that, potting mixture, and you're going to take 1 or 2 seeds. I'll show you the quick version here. You're going to just poke your finger in the soil to the depth that the sunflower seed package tells you to. Usually it's about a 1/2 inch. Some people will go a 1/4 inch. Some people will use a whole inch depending on the size of the seed. I plant 2 of them together just in case one of them doesn't work out. And then I just cover it with, that little bit of soil. I'll put a little bit of water on top of it, and then I'll put it in a bright, sunshiny area. So that's basically, like how you start them out. But these are some of the other blunders that I've done. People also like to use some Bounty paper towel, and they will sprinkle. First of all, they'll wet the Bounty paper towel. They'll sprinkle just a couple seeds in there. They'll make sure that they're nice and spaced out. And then they'll cover those seeds with the Bounty paper towel, and they'll cover it. Where's my cover? And we're back. Okay. And then we're just going to cover it and let it sit for like just a few days. So once it's in this Bounty paper towel method, it's not, totally submerged in water, even though it has that damp paper towel around it. So after about 2 or 3 days, your seeds should look something like this. And you're going to see that the seedlings just start to open up, and you see these little tiny plants emerging. And then they're good to go. And they might just be a couple days ahead of their, sister plants. And so this is another blunder not to make that I've done. I left them in the Bounty paper towel too long. These were sitting in the container for about a week. And this is what happens. They wind up getting rotted out. You can see there's all sorts of little mold growing on here. And so, just keep an eye on if you're doing that. So for the most part, I skip this step. It's really kind of fun to do this step if you're planting with children, because it's fun for them to see that whole germination process. But if you're like me, I like things really streamlined, really simple, because the more steps that I do very often, the more things I botch up. So a lot of times I will skip both of these steps, but I just wanted you to show how to use them and how you can botch them up and what not to do. Another thing you don't want to do is to not use enough soil. So as you can tell, this bucket of beautiful seedlings, it's very, very low. And what happened was I had put the seed starter mix on top, and then I planted the sunflowers, and then I watered them in. And what happened was everything just kind of like deflated, almost like a balloon, because it got very compact. And so at that point, I'm just going to leave them because I don't feel like digging everything up. I just have to make sure that they get, lots and lots of sunshine. So a quick fix to that is to, put that soil starter in the pot, run some water over it, get it nice and moist. And you can tell, like this pot already, the soil kind of dropped down a few inches. So what I'm going to do is just add a little extra seed starter on top. But watch how it's almost like a cake. So it kind of fills up, and then you'll see it kind of like lowers. See how it kind of rises to the top and then it lowers? But at least this is a lot taller than this looks. And then you can plant them, and then you can water them in. And so, yeah, that's the story, guys. So make sure, I guess, the most important things are that it has a load of sunlight. You're going to make sure that you keep the soil moist. You're going to make sure that the soil is not soggy and waterlogged. You're going to make sure that you stake your plants when they get very droopy. You're going to make sure that you don't soak your seeds too long. And you're going to make sure that you don't use the Bounty paper towel method and forget to take them out after a few days, where you wind up getting some of these scary looking guys. And so that's it, guys. But once again, if you really want the easiest method to grow sunflower seeds with, you can check out my video on how to plant, grow, and harvest your sunflower seeds. That video is going to show you how to direct seed your sunflowers into the garden directly. It's going to, save on all these steps and all these blunders that you might make as you're planting them indoors. And you're just going to make sure that you plant those seeds outside after there's no more threat of frost. Guys, please add any comments or questions that you have below. I love answering your garden questions, and most of my YouTube videos and my podcasts are based on the Flower Tribe's questions. And also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much for joining me in this video, and please feel free to hop on over to my Kelly Lehman's Flower Tribe Facebook group, because there's thousands of gardeners from all over the world, and they're asking and answering tons of garden questions over there each week. And please also come say hi to us over on my Cranberry Fields Instagram page, and you can also check out my new online flower courses that teach you easy steps on how to grow fresh cut flower gardens in your own backyards, and then how to arrange those beautiful flowers into gorgeous flower arrangements. So that's in descriptions below too. And please let me know where you're viewing this from. In this great big beautiful world, I love to see how our flower tribe is growing around the globe each week. And I will see you in the next video. And you're going to make sure that I forget what else you're going to make sure, because that shows you how to do all the planting outside. That was a tough word, outside.